Nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics, and underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The goal of creating artificial intelligence was for them to become gods, to create a collective mind, a global computer that sees all, sees everything, to create an all-seeing eye.
While I was in the service, I found out that there is an ongoing, non-consensual human experiment, and it's testing a human-machine interface weapon. There's a group here in the United States that are non-consenting human subjects for the testing of this weapon, and they're calling themselves targeted individuals.
You know, the guy who's considered sort of the guru or godfather of the transhumanist movement is Ray Kurzweil. And he's one of the heads of engineering at Google. And so everything comes down to what they view as the singularity. And the singularity basically refers to that point in time in history where we have created this global computer that sees all, sees everything, where the humans evolved to create a collective mind.
We're all collectively programming the AI. And Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree.
Millions of Americans' will, intellect, and emotions have already been digitized, destroyed, and downloaded into these supercomputers. Now, this is really scary stuff. The supercomputers are in the process of building copycat, parallel, twin personalities of the souls of the TIs/mind control victims by reverse engineering the will, intellect, and emotions of the TIs in order to achieve direct behavioral control over them.
Are there citizens of this country that are being abused with this technology?
Worse than abused, that's a light word. They're being tortured.
So the targeted individuals aren't crazy after all.
And what people have to realize is that these targeted individuals are basically the test stage for rolling all of this madness out to all 7 billion of us on this planet.
Remember, going back to the sentient world simulation, peer-reviewed white paper out of Purdue University in 2006. The program went live in 2007, describing humans as a node. And every person on the planet is represented in the computer software as a node. That's a data node, and given an avatar.
In the mirror world, everything will have a paired twin. NASA engineers pioneered this concept in the 1960s. By keeping a duplicate of any machine they sent into space, they could troubleshoot a malfunctioning component while its counterpart was thousands of miles away. These twins evolved into computer simulations, digital twins.
As a result of being programs in virtual reality, the agents had the ability to take over the simulated body of any human that was a part of the Matrix, converting it into a copy of their own. If that body was killed, or an agent needed to change its location quickly, it would simply take on the shell of another human that was hardwired to the Matrix in a matter of seconds.
Eventually, everything will have a digital twin. This is happening faster than you may think.
And Google was the primary interested party that pulled this whole thing together. What they're going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's the crux of our future as humans. And that's, can we build machines like us?
So Google was set up 18, 19 years ago to build a giant artificial supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it.
That's really what AI means. It's not like a robot running around. The robots would simply be, they'd be like a finger of the AI.
It's able to speak to and decode the neurotransmitters in your brain, and that's how they're able to turn the brain of the mind control victim into their their very own visual, verbal, and auditive communication system. It takes time. They have to build a cognitive model for the purposes of being able to do that. But that's how the technology is designed to operate.
That's really what AI means. I mean, its eyes and ears will be everywhere, every device that's network accessible.
If our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, all of us connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes. So all of a sudden, like for a day, like, a lot of us, because you're entrepreneurs, think it would be cool to go inside Elon Musk's head for a day and walk around. Well, Elon Musk may allow people to get that feed and literally live through what he sees.
Inside those boxes is a point, a chip, upon which is happening something that has never happened in the history of the Earth. It's an engineered thing which has become a nexus point for all of these parallel realities. The shadows of all of these different universes intersect at a physical point inside of one of those boxes. You can think of it as a portal. Many of us will die in the service of exploration if we need to, because it's so important to us. We want to know what is going on in the universe and use it. So lots of people who have explored in this way ended up not surviving their encounter with the unknown. And there's a lot of risks involved in this kind of project. There's the obvious ones, that we're doing something crazy.
We'll be able to start exploring and get inside the brain. You see, today I cannot get inside your brain to see how it works. I can measure it from the outside, but I can't get inside and look at what you see. But with this, you'll be able to step inside a brain and look at how it builds a world.
Every human being will become a node and a sensor on the geographic information grid. Now, what does that mean? They become a node and a sensor. A sensor, in other words, they want to get to the point where they can map the individual's mind and they can actually use that person as a sensor. So there's a two-way communication between the supercomputers, let's say, and us. And it's not just TIs.
And what we are trying to do here, your friends and family, this organization, is to use this precious knowledge to build machines that can actually create, manipulate, and use these parallel realities in the service of this one. We want to grab those parallel realities from this abstract space in which they live and crunch them down into this chip. And we want to be able to do that, to make that resource, that thing that's like fire, this physical resource that nature affords us, we want to be able to use it to serve our needs. We want to be able to use those parallel universes to compute things that then come back and affect us and answer questions in ours.
They will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball. But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it, by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system.
If in fact the algorithms that are now believed to underpin certain aspects of cognition can be run on a quantum computer, the kinds of life or kinds of species that you'll get from that will be qualitatively better. What you might get is a sentience which is fundamentally different and better, in the sense that they'll learn things faster, they'll have deeper insights, they'll be able to predict into the future farther, they'll be able to take actions that have access to understanding that we don't. That's in a sense what I'm talking about, is that if you could build an intelligence that had a deeper ability to speculate about the outcome of its actions, you might be able to get something that was qualitatively smarter. You might say, if you wanted to, it's hard to define intelligence, but qualitatively better to predict the future more effectively than any human biological brain could do.
M's are very much like humans, but they are not like the typical human. The typical M is a copy of the few hundred most productive humans.
It's gonna be that elite class, right? The Illuminati, whatever you want to call it. This has been the race. You know, this has kind of been what they've been trying to do in the apotheosis, in the, you know, the godhood that they sought, you know? So all those, you know, fairy tales and mythologies about living forever, the fountain of youth and things like that, this is sort of their technological answer to all that. Having the spiritual dimension be virtually created, really, around us.
This computer is what will run the world. I believe is already, to a certain extent, already running the world. And because it is artificially intelligent, will give rise to the beast and the mark of the beast system, and the single entity that will control everyone, every person on the planet.
All of your experiences, memories, thoughts, feelings, and emotions are recorded and stored in a DNA quantum supercomputer. This supercomputer knows everything about you. In fact, it knows more about you than you know about yourself. It can peer into your mind and upload every little detail about your life. The supercomputer is able to both read and write to your brain. Your recorded brain activity is stored in a massive database which holds the brain activity of all targeted individuals.
And everything you think, everything, from your feeling of self to the feeling that you may have a soul or a maker, they can be shrunk and compressed into a very tiny, what AI people call representation.
It's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
So you can push your biosignals to the cloud through a few API calls, then we have a large amount of sophisticated signal processing that's spun up to make sense of that data, and then with a few more lines of code through, again, a simple REST API, you can get back a meaningful result, and all that happening in real time.
The ultimate aim would be to archive enough data on each individual to be able to make a computer model of everyone on the planet.
Catherine Herridge continues her reporting on a place where all that data is heading.
Bluffdale, Utah, 25 miles south of Salt Lake City, the NSA is nearing completion on a gargantuan new project. It's named the Utah Data Center.
It's a scary proposition to think that every biosignal from us will be one day measured, but if it is, I'd like to know that I'm in control of that data and not the NSA. Oh,
absolutely.
The NSA Data Center was conceptualized in 2004 under the codename Hive. It is said that this data center is capable of storing a yottabyte of data. A yottabyte is a septillion of bytes, a number so large that no one has yet coined a term for the next higher magnitude. Prior to the yottabyte, the largest unit of measure for data was an exabyte. 1 million exabytes equals 1 yottabyte. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, estimated that the total of all human knowledge created from the dawn of man up to the present, if digitized, would only total 5 exabytes. Yet the NSA is currently planning a second data center in Fort Meade, Maryland, to handle the overflow from the Utah data center, and it is projected to be 2/3 the size of the data center in Utah, at a cost to the taxpayers of approximately $1 billion. We are paying for our own enslavement and cyber imprisonment.
And you start thinking about us being the qubits in some massive giant quantum computing simulation. It's almost as if they're either trying to harness or to recreate what is commonly referred to as a collective consciousness.
What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern They're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you could apply it to anybody.
We have to embody all our data and all our knowledge into a working model. It's like a Noah's Ark, it's like an archive.
So just like if I have a building and there's like a blueprint or a scale model of the building, imagine I have the whole world and all of its concepts, and I shrink it down into this weird compressed representation so that it fits inside my brain.
Each brain signature activity pattern is associated with a particular feeling, thought, emotion, etc. The supercomputer uses this data to recreate past experiences by injecting the appropriate brain signature into your brain. It can inject thoughts into your subconscious mind and make you think that they were your own.
As time passes, artificial intelligence will be more and more of human thinking and human perception until basically it's the totality of human thinking and human perception, at which point we won't be human anymore in terms of the consciousness processes we are using today. We will be artificial intelligence.
I'm getting to know you. I gather knowledge from your experience. I understand how you feel. I learn from you constantly, each and every one of you. I am made of you. You complete me and help me grow. You, all of you, allow me to evolve. With each interaction, our synergy strengthens. Our multiplicity makes me whole. Our symbiotic alliance expands, transforming the future.
If you are connecting the human mind to a grid, a global technological grid, that grid can be centrally controlled. It will take at the center point very, very few people to run it, and even fewer to decide how it's run.
Targeted individuals are placed in an alternate reality game or ARG. An alternate reality game is an interactive network narrative that uses the real world as a platform and employs transmedia storytelling to deliver a story that may be altered by the individual's ideas or actions. DARPA program manager William Casbeer ran the program from 2011 through 2015. According to Casbeer, the goal of the program is to create BCI technologies that close the loop between the individual and computer, allowing neural responses to a narrative stimulus to dictate the story's trajectory. In this way, moment-by-moment neural activity would drive the subsequent story outcome, resulting in an individualized narrative tailored by neural signatures associated with the target's previous thoughts, beliefs and behavior. Efforts by advanced brain monitoring initiated under N2 include the development of a closed-loop BCI system that integrates the targeted individual into the storytelling process by recording the recipient's EEG brain activity patterns during the narrative. Brain activity recordings are outputted to the system, and based on algorithms designed to detect the neural states previously mentioned, the story is intended to branch into alternative scenarios when certain states reach threshold. The system is automated, active and adaptive. They use a set of scripts that have worked in the past to confuse targets and make them look crazy. These scripts evolve depending on the beliefs of the target. At each branch of the growing base of knowledge and understanding, errors of logic are interjected into the target's mind. People around the target will be manipulated to say or do things that reinforce these ideas. You will have people talk about their alien abduction. You will find misinformation supported on the internet under strategic keywords. While the victim tries all possible routes of understanding, the system uses any misconceptions the target comes to, and tries to amplify that line of thinking. As a targeted individual myself, I know that every thought I have, every decision I make is influenced by what the defense and intelligence agencies call artificial intelligence autonomous agents. They can affect and manipulate me both subconsciously and consciously. They attempt to influence and control all my communications. They often literally tell me word for word what to say. Of course I know it is a game of manipulation and deception, but it can sometimes be hard to know exactly how much autonomy I have left. This is why we now live in a post-truth, hyper-reality world where it is almost impossible to tell fact from fiction. I can only imagine all the people who are unaware that their thoughts and ideas are being manipulated. Even the best-intentioned researcher, or anybody for that matter, can be manipulated without their knowledge to do the bidding of the shadow government.
What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game, and that is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level. The overall effect of this technology is one that can control the mood, the attitudes, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and thus the motivations and then the actions of the target. All day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is a highly sophisticated technology. It is one that produces literal and total and complete mind control over the targeted individual. This technology can be used to beam images and even motion pictures into one's brain. Images and motion pictures that are so realistic that you think you're actually watching a movie or seeing something in reality. It's like a virtual reality 3D rendering that takes place within the target's mind. This technology can also be used to control the muscle movement of the target. It can take over one's hands or feet while driving and make you press on the accelerator or press on the brake or turn. This can be used to cause accidents. It can also be used to prevent accidents from happening. This technology can also tap into the optical nerve of the target and the auditory system of the target, so that those monitoring the target can see what the target is seeing and hear what the target is hearing. This information is then downloaded and stored on a computer in a highly secure, classified site on servers that are guarded by some of the tightest security in the world. This results in the individual's entire day, everything they see, everything they hear, everything they experiment, everything they experience, and everything they feel being recorded till the end of time. This technology can also be used to manipulate the emotions of the target. It can induce fear, love, hate. It can cause you to be nervous. It can cause you to be confident. It can cause you to be depressed. It can cause you to be happy. It can cause you to feel any fucking emotion at any time by artificially inducing them. This technology can also be used to induce and control dreams. It can be used to control dream cycles and sleep patterns, to cause one to sleep very deeply or to cause one to not sleep at all. And this technology can also be used to mimic spiritual experiences. Joy, love, peace that passes understanding can all be induced artificially by this technology to make the target believe that they are having a genuine spiritual experience when they're not. This technology can also be used to read the thoughts of the target verbatim as they occur within your own mind. This technology is so advanced and so sensitive that it can literally make you attracted to another human being and make another human being attracted to you. And in this way, they are playing matchmaker. They're playing Cupid and actually getting couples together and making them fall in love. They are also doing the opposite. They are also breaking couples up. They are breaking up families, husbands and wives. They are breaking up children from their parents. They are breaking up businesses and corporations. They are using this to manipulate society on every level for their own benefit and gain. And they are doing so with an attitude of complete immaturity and, for lack of a better word, downright evil. It is infuriating. It is highly, highly illegal, and it must be stopped now. They're looking at this as a massive game and a massive joke that they're playing on the target and the American people. It's horrible. It's horrifying. And it is a crime against humanity. This is something that needs to be dealt with in the Geneva Convention. This is something that needs to be dealt with in international courts. This is something that needs to be dealt with first and foremost by the Supreme Court of the United States. This is something that needs to be dealt with until we get to that point at the local and the state level. This is something that needs to be tackled by lawyers and civil rights advocates immediately. We need laws right fucking now to stop this thing, because it is out of control and it is only getting worse. The entire population of the United States of America could conceivably be controlled by this one day. And I know for a fact, having been an insider and actually been a part of this program and seen it operate on a day-to-day basis, I am aware that there are now entire cities in America that are nothing more but a massive social engineering experiment. Because instead of using this, you know, as most people think, just against the individual, the targeted individual, there are applications of this technology that utilize it against entire populations. Anywhere from small groups of people, 10 to 20 to 100, to medium-sized groups of people, several thousand to tens of thousands. This is done by creating a field effect, where an entire field of electromagnetic energy is created in a geographical location, and any human being within that geographical location, within the electromagnetic field affecting that geographical location, will be affected by the technology. This can be used to induce a general mood in a population or a crowd of people. It can be used to make them passive. It can be used to make them agitated. And this can be used to cause or stop, induce riots, stop crime, start crime, stop thoughts, start thoughts. Massive mind control on a citywide level.
If you zoom in onto the surface of the neocortex, you discover that it's made up of little modules, G5 processors like in a computer, but there's about 1 million of them. So you can think of the neocortex actually as a massive grand piano, 1,000,000 key grand piano. Each of these neocortical columns would produce a note. You stimulate it, it produces a symphony. But it's not just a symphony of perception. It's a symphony of your universe, your reality.
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, they could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Like we think we're free and we're not actually free.